So everything I'm going to talk about today is going to be available in a Google Doc in the description for you. If you have no desire to watch the video, if you'd rather read over the things that I've written, you are more than welcome to check that out. It will be in the description below. So before we get started. Hello, I'm coming at you from the basement of the heat wave. I'm trying to survive this decimation upon these lands. Today I'm going to talk about a common D&D trope that I kind of have seen in person a few times that can be very detrimental to the enjoyment of everybody in the game, which happens to be planning a heist or some sort of delicate scenario. Oftentimes, people will spend anywhere from an hour to longer to 2 hours, whatever. A lot of time spent planning and meticulously conceiving everything involving a mission or a heist or something. Now, that can be enjoyable, but oftentimes what happens is that it's either not enjoyable or the plan is put into fruition and somewhere down the line, a bad roll happens, and from that, the plan falls apart. So everyone kind of feels like all of that time has been wasted, basically just talking about something that doesn't mean anything. So as a solution, I have decided to borrow or steal a mechanic from another game that I really like, which is called Blades in the Dark, which is an entire game based around this concept of going on heists or scores, as they are known as, and getting in and getting out without spending the entire time just planning out the mission. So in Blades, which you can see the rules up above me, they have written in something called the engagement roll. And this is essentially what I'm going to be speaking to, but in a different system or kind of generically. So in Blades in the Dark, what kind of happens is that you decide on a course of action. Not necessarily every little detail of the plan. You just say, okay, we are going to, for example, let's say they're trying to infiltrate a guardhouse. And so you only have to decide on the initial starting thing. So how are we getting in? Are we going to deceive somebody? Are we going to assault the location? Or are we going to speak to someone to let us in? There's a few other options. I'm not going to go through all of them. But the main thing is that you pick that key piece, that key detail as it is known. And from there, you have a dialogue with the players and the GM about what are your advantages and what are your disadvantages to this mission. From that, someone rolls the dice at the beginning of the game or the score, and then that decides how well you start out on that score. You don't need to detail everything else. You don't need to go through each little bit and piece of the mission. You just say, here's how we're going to get in. You roll it and you see how well you are off, and then you play to figure out what happens next. And I really, really, really like this because it rewards some planning and some thought, but it does not get bogged down with spending hours and hours planning some sort of situation. And what I also like about it is that, as you can see from this table here above me, right this way, sorry, getting used to that, is that you can have different results for how well it goes. So let's say this is a D20 based game. Let's say they roll D20 and they get a bad roll. Then they're going to get to that spot, but they're going to be in a desperate situation, which in Blades means something. But in this case, in our generic example, it just means that something bad has happened. Or they might, on the opposite end, they might get exceptional or a really good result. And that means that they will be able to have a great time and they'll be starting out in a controlled, as it is known in Blades, a controlled position, or they will be secure and safe, and then they can kind of proceed in a calm fashion going through the plan and playing it out. And so I really like that mechanic in that game. So now I'm going to show you how to kind of use that and transfer it over into a D20 based system with another example too. Behold! All right, so here is the text of the Google Doc, which will be in the description. Again, just to remind you, it will be down there if you want to make a copy and just take it for yourself. Totally fine with that. So I've ripped it off of Blades in the Dark, obviously, but I've kind of adapted it in a way, so I think it's somewhat unique. It kind of makes a few minor changes to the actual rule from Blades. So anyway, here's the description, blah, blah, blah. So, once a group of player characters have decided upon a plan they wish to enact that involves an element of stealth, each participating character will roll a stealth skill check. So I'm coming at this from the lens of 5e because that's my main, the one that I run the most and the one that is probably the most common. But it's pretty easily adaptable for most other things. There's some sort of skill, a stealth or a sneaky kind of skill. So each character will roll that was involved in the plan. If there was a character that was completely uninvolved, or they're like, I'm not really meant for this sort of thing, you go ahead, I'll just kind of show up to help later. The DM will aggregate the average result of all the rolls and will then narrate how far along in the plan the group went. So in my version, you do spend a bit of time planning. And if you were to use this, I would recommend having some sort of time limit. Maybe, all right, we're going to have 20 minutes of planning. I think it is Dusk City Outlaws that uses this mechanic where you get 15 minutes of planning time. And so that's what I would say, like maybe 15, 20 minutes to kind of get the main stuff figured out. So with that, blah, 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 you will then narrate how far along in the plan the group got. So let's say they got a 15. Okay, that's probably 3/4 of the way through, depending on what they described. Wherever the DM decides the plan stumbles or fails, the game will proceed from there on a moment-to-moment basis. As well, participating members that wish to use a different skill check may do so. It will be included in the average result, for example, persuading a guard or deceiving a butler. So in this case, it kind of gives a bit more of a wider range of capabilities for characters that may not have a necessary stealth skill, but they do have some other skills that would benefit in this mission. So here's my example. A group of player characters wants to steal a document hidden in the Royal Library. They'll need to sneak inside, so that's the first thing, find the document and steal the document, and then get out unnoticed. So they have 4 steps to their plan, essentially. Each of the PCs makes a stealth roll, and the final average result is a 15. In this case, they managed to make it inside, using the tactics they described in their plan, which I have not written out, but I would assume somebody would have planned something. Found the document, but they were discovered as they made their exit. And so from that point forward, if I was running this, I would say, all right, you've made it far, you have the document. Now, unfortunately, someone has uncovered your plan and they've sounded the alarm. So now they have to try to escape this library. And so that's where we would kind of play it out. And I think this is a good happy balance of rewarding people who want to plan, because I know there are players that are really into planning things, and they have a lot of thoughts and ideas with this. But it also does not bog down the game and make it completely unfun, because oftentimes if I'm playing, I'm the type of player that will tend to be like, all right, let's get this show on the road. Like, we can plan all day, but something's going to go wrong. And I know that. And I know that from running as well, games of this nature. So I hope this is a happy medium and it can hopefully accommodate both of those kind of styles, but also incorporate that jumping into the action, playing to see what happens. So I hope you enjoy this kind of house rule DM toolkit sort of thing. Let me know what you think. Feel free to like the video if you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will be hopefully making more videos soon in the future once things cool off. So thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.